The Politician season 2, Ryan Murphy's Netflix show. We reviewed season 1 last year. Ben Platt at the helm, Gwyneth Paltrow, probably the most famous supporting actress in all of this. And yeah, I think season 1 we felt like there were some interesting moments, but overall pretty much a letdown. Season 2, where are you at? Same boat?
Yeah, so it's so interesting because this is a show that Netflix gave a 2-season order to right from the jump. Even though if you watched the title screen for either season, you'll notice that it was still a Fox TV Studios production, obviously resulting from Murphy's prior deals and whatnot. So it's not exactly like Netflix didn't like make it; they just kind of like bought the show, and that leads me to believe I don't think we're getting a season 3, but. Yeah, so like going into this season 2, we already knew they had made this, right? Regardless of the season, regardless if season 1 was like handled well. And then we knew that we're just going to like abruptly like change everything about the show by moving out of high school into a college setting from a student body president position or whatever it was to state senate, New York State Senate. And you're just throwing Bette Midler and Judith Light into the cast in a major way. And it's like a lot of change in one season. Yet I think much like the first season of the show, The Politician just doesn't have a tone that seems to, I think, resonate with the subject matter it's trying to tackle. Like it has a lot of really over the top moments that it treats in a very serious way. And thus, I don't think there's really any comment on politics or anything with this show. So you're just kind of left with a weird thing, which is like it's a lot tougher Ryan Murphy shows. You're kind of left with something in between. And I think with The Politician, it's like, I think Ben Platt's pretty well liked, talented guy. And again, this season, he gets to do a little bit of his song and dance as a talented guy. Let him go to the piano. I did not mind that at all, by the way. But he can't elevate these scripts. Like, it's just kind of absurd.
Yeah. I feel like this show is doing the most. And it almost feels like they're trying to do too much with it. Because, just thinking about all these characters, all these different storylines, all these different moments they get. And then you have Gwyneth Paltrow, I feel like, playing a much larger role in this season in terms of the overall plot and kind of where the show might be going if there is a season beyond this. And I think probably somewhat intentionally and probably somewhat not intentionally, I don't know if there's a character I really connect with this show. They're all these very affluent white people, except for one or two characters living
Sky.
Sky, living in New York City, in the highest of positions of power that you can be for someone that age. And it's just all ridiculous. And I think that's kind of the point of this in a sense, is like to make the political nature seem ridiculous. But I think in order to really like follow a show and enjoy it, you also do need to have buy-in to some of the characters and like some of them. And I don't really know who I ended up liking here.
Yeah, I think that was a big takeaway from the first season too, is you're watching this really over the top storyline regarding around this high school, and you're like, but look at this high school. It's these affluent California rich kids, right? It was California, I think. I don't know.
They were in California.
Yeah, these really, really rich kids, and it's like these like 1% problems. I don't like. It's hard to emphasize with them when they're also kind of dislikable as characters, right? And then this time, we have. I think one of the improvements as a character would be Infinity, Zoe Deutsch's character. I think she's just a better presence on the show. Now she's kind of transitioned into a climate activist character. But again, everything's really over the top, so it's hard to have like a lasting moment. But like the rest of the cast for me that we had carry over from season 1, mainly everyone, Peyton's friends and campaign colleagues, right? Mm-hmm. I think none of them really make a big impression this season at all. They kind of just feel in the background. James, Sky in particular, barely involved. Yeah. I guess McAfee pops up a little bit, but it just felt like they're just kind of like window dressing now. And the whole presence of Lucy Boynton's Astrid character even being in this season at all just felt completely contrived and unnecessary. Yeah. It's not amounting to anything worthwhile, right? So
it seemed like they had no idea what to do with that character
yeah.
from the get go. The fact that she's on the team to begin with, and then she changes sides in the first episode, then she becomes part of this thruple, and then uh, convinces Alice to go to this retreat, this
Yeah.
pregnant women retreat. It's all just very all over the place, and I think they were trying to go for something with the Astrid Alice dynamic that just never
Mm-hmm.
totally came to fruition, seemed to be half baked. Alice's character, I think, might have the most growth in terms of character, but that all seems to happen very quickly in the last 2 or 3 episodes, up until she kind of has this crisis of role. She's very much just in that role, and it actually seems to be kind of enjoying it and driving the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you try to think about what this show is really about, and centering around Ben Platt's Peyton, it's obviously the show about, what does it mean to be about a politician? Are these people as shallow and
Mm-hmm.
hollow as they appear to
Right.
be? What are the driving
Opportunism.
forces? Exactly. What are the driving forces that drive them to become the people that they are? And that's kind of, I guess, the one consistent throughout the season is it's kind of Peyton is put in these positions where he has to examine what it means to be him, and to then choose, what decision actually embodies the person I am. But I don't actually think that's ever really defined well, and I think what it comes down to is Peyton is just that hollow, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it kind of feels a
You knew
bit
that since the
demoralizing to
very
follow that.
first episode, though. You know,
Right.
and it's like it hasn't. We haven't had any work done to change that. Frame of mind. So no matter how much you might like Ben Platt as a talent, uh, it only goes so far, right? Like and
Yeah.
as a result, what we get less David Cornsweet, as
Mm-hmm.
you'd expect this season. Um, I guess I
What,
did
one
like,
cameo?
yeah, or the
Maybe.
second one, the end too. He doesn't say
Yeah, oh,
anything,
that's
but it's
right.
like I don't mind that him being like a ghost in Peyton's head. I wish it just again we should have mounted something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think my favorite stuff had to be Bette Midler and Judith Light, man, just
Oh
because
yeah.
they're almost always together, but they would just seem to really be having a lot of fun on this show. And in a sense, they almost are helping remind the viewer how ridiculous you're seeing everything is, that this kid is actually like running for state senate
Mm-hmm.
with no qualifications and all that, right?
Yep.
So I enjoy their presence in the show, and like the whole stuff with the thruples and the over reliance of saying the word thruple out loud in the early going.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was pretty ridiculous to me too, right? And like you have on the other side of that, we have this whole thing with Dee Dee's vice president hopefulness, right? And she's gonna ride into the sunset with some guy who looks like Dan Crenshaw with two eyes, like, and then that guy just totally leaves the show a few episodes in when like his character, something happens with his character. So it's like it's just messy, man. And I they intentionally leave the season open at the end for a season 3. I just don't see what the point of that would be, because we haven't had any like success nailing the tone and nailing
Yeah.
any kind of true comment about the obviousness of political ambition that the show has pointed out in graphic fashion since day one. So it's got to be a disappointment, I think, for anyone who's watched all of it.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly disappointing. You mentioned the part where Peyton sings in the bar at, I think the last episode or second to
Mm.
last episode, and I mean, just kind of random. Like, you're just like, we got Ben Platt, we got to make him sing at some point. Let's put him in this bar singing, and put Judith Light and Bette Midler in there as well.
Yeah.
And it almost kind of feels like, why pick Ben Platt to play this character? I guess you needed somebody that looks younger, and Ben Platt can play, I think, a little bit younger than his age.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. That's still the case, right? He's like, what, 30, like
Yeah.
31, and he's playing a 20 something year old.
Yeah, 22, 23-year-old, something like that. But it just feels like a waste of his talent to have him like traditionally acting for most of the time. Just wanted to talk quick about Ryan Murphy. I mean, we've seen a couple of shows from him. We talked about Hollywood earlier this year. This is obviously second season of Politician. The shows he's made for Netflix. Got a huge deal from Netflix to be creating content. Where are you at with him? I feel like he might be the most overrated creator out there right now.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of been the thing. He's always been overrated from a critical standpoint, but he's made popular shows almost the whole time. He's been a major creator, producer. So it depends what you're evaluating him on.
Right.
Like I think apart from what American Crime Story, he hasn't really made anything super well lauded. But
Pose, I'd say, I
oh,
guess.
and Pose, true, and Pose,
Yeah.
and maybe the first season American Horror Story, something like that. But then
Mm-hmm.
again, American Horror Story's been on almost a decade and it still does a really good rating. And
Yeah.
Glee was a huge phenomenon, even if
Yep.
it kind of fell off a cliff after the first few seasons.
Scream Queens.
I ride for Scream Queens. That actually wasn't that big of a hit. 911, which is on Fox still, that's done pretty well for him. So
as I'm looking through, I feel like that might be a hasty statement to make, but maybe he's not the most overrated. Because looking here, I mean, Pose last year was an Emmy darling. You had, I think it had a couple of Emmy wins. So
Billy Porter won.
Yeah, I think it's just this. I think it's just a sense that whenever I watch his stuff and tune in, I'm pretty underwhelmed by it. But like you said, it's popular stuff, and people really seem to dig his style. So Netflix, I think, knows what they're doing. Probably getting more return than I'm giving them credit for. But I think I'm just marred by these shows that feel like they could be so much more, falling so flat recently.
And kind of my question too is, if you've watched Politician season 2 since it came out 2 Fridays ago, it seems like it's been in their top 10 shows nearly the whole time. But I always wonder, are people like really tuned in to watch this show, or is it just in the top 10 because it's been plastered on the front page of Netflix and thus being thrown in front of tons of people that are just trying it out? We don't know that. Netflix doesn't give us that kind of insight. So in a sense, I don't know if we could ever know if Ryan Murphy is worth the money to Netflix.
Right.
Because in a sense, if they can make anything be watched, then why spend a lot of money when you can make shit like Floor is Lava, which has a really low production budget, yet is their number one show right now.
Easy.
We don't know, but Netflix definitely does, and they've given out a lot of big deals to people beyond Murphy. So I guess it's working for them.